I never got in my first airplane till I was 38 years old. I was really getting the feeling I was personally being stymied, you know, just being a successful businessman. I felt I hadn't reached my personal limitations. And there was a busy contractor, and a friend of mine said, "Say, you have to get a hobby." And after about a month, my friend talked me into going up for a ride in his airplane. We did have a nice ride, and this is where I really saw a new world unfolding to me. We went back and landed. That night, I called my insurance agent. He said, "What are you doing, Hughes?" "I'm going to buy an airplane." And he said, "Well, why not buy mine?" Well, this was the next day now, after my first ride. We went up in that airplane. I came down on the ground and wrote him a check and bought an airplane. The next day, I walked up to a flight school on Orange County Airport, Santa Ana, California, and said, "I bought an airplane. I want to learn how to fly it. What to do to learn how to fly my airplane?" And they looked at me like they thought I was from the funny farm. And after a few minutes, convinced them, hey, I was serious. And so they assigned an instructor to me, and we spent our first hour of instruction sitting in that airplane with the instructor saying, "This is an artificial horizon. What's that?" And a DG, compass, a clock, and the entire first hour of instruction was that, because it was totally unfamiliar. And we started flying on a daily basis. I was almost obsessed with this idea of flying, and matter of fact, we flew every day. I wanted to take 3 hours instruction a day. The flight school knew the learning curve and said, no, 1 hour a day, that's all. I went right on in, wanting to learn more about the thing I liked so well, the aviation, and just about that time, my friend came back and said, let's go see an air show. And we did go to this air show, and for my first time ever, I saw aerobatics. Well, I knew right then I had to learn aerobatics. So I started flying aerobatics. I learned to do the basic rolls, loops, and all of that, and thought, gosh, I love it. And thought, well, it would be a neat thing to do 2 or 3 air shows a year. I thought, okay, I have to have the airplane to do this with. And through the research, I found a Stearman was most commonly used throughout at least the recent years. Understand the Stearman basically was not really an aerobatic airplane. It was used as a primary trainer in World War II and did the basic loop and roll, and that's all. So I wanted to build this airplane into one of the best aerobatic airplanes, or air show airplanes, that existed. I had a choice of engines to put on the airplane. Well, in keeping with basically my personality. If you're going to do it right or forget it. I put the largest engine that was mechanically and physically possible to put in the airplane, which is a 1340 Pratt Whitney, which at that time turned 600 horsepower. So all of a sudden, I had the beginning of a Super Stearman. The plane is a product of 8 years of development by myself, all the systems. It really brings it up to date where it is today, the Super Stearman. I learned what I had designed is I thought would be an ideal air show sequence. Still, every morning in this airplane, up early in the morning, out flying into the construction office, back in the afternoon, flying again, day after day. So now I'd finally learned to do aerobatics pretty good. I actually learned aerobatics through my own efforts and out of the book and trial and error, so to speak. This took a lot of time, too. As a matter of fact, it changed an entire lifestyle. But I've found also in life that part of knowing what you want is what you have to give up to get it. And I was determined I was going to be an aerobatic pilot. I was determined I was going to fly my 4 or 5 air shows. So we went and did an air show. Hey, it was great. It worked out good. We had lots of planning, and the air show worked fine. Did another air show. After the 3rd air show, the phone started ringing. Rather than doing my 4 or 5 air shows I'd planned to do, matter of fact, I'd done 48 performances at the end of the 1st year. Well, this is what really started my career in flying. My avocation suddenly was turning into a real mainstream vocation for me here. And the 2nd year, of course, I did over 90, and it's every year I do over 100. Learning to fly upside down and do loops, you enter into a total different environment of the body. I think the strangest feeling was the sensation of G-loads. Example, I weigh 170 pounds. I'm 1 G. If I have 2 Gs, I weigh 340 pounds. So getting the body used to all this, it's quite an unusual experience. And I remember it hurt a little. And after a while, though, this starts going away. The body adapts to its environment. And example now, I pull in my sequences, the advanced sequences, up to 7 positive and 5 negative Gs, and I don't feel either one. A negative G is the reverse. What it's doing is literally trying to tear you out of the airplane, and this is where you have all the double belts and to scare you in the airplane, and also the blood is rushing out of the lower parts of your bodies, particularly the extremities, into your head, and it's very painful. It took about 5 years of doing air shows before all of a sudden one day I didn't feel the pain of the negative G's in an outside loop. All of a sudden it was gone. The fun and I think the feeling of achievement that I got out of it personally was worth all of this. It was worth all of the giving up of the other recreation. It was worth the flying mornings, afternoons, weekends, and working late at night in the hangar on the airplane to develop it. After I learned to do aerobatics fairly decently, then it came time to start formulating an idea for a wing walking act. Initially, I was pretty busy learning to fly the airplane, and my original wing walker was an ex-trapeze artist, and he was thinking of all the tricks that could be done. As I progressed through the years, and now I'm with my fourth wing walker, and obviously I'm the trainer of wing walkers now. And the hours, in Donna's case, that was spent training her were numerous. I would say it would run into hundreds of hours in training, which spanned a 2-month period. Before Donna ever went flying to perform the wing walking act as is seen today on the wing, there was 1 solid month of training in the hangar. Okay, Donna, let's set the bag down and the wing walking rack. The qualities I look for in a wing walker are rather definite. I have to be concerned about their size because of the obvious mass and the aerodynamic negatives it will impose on the aircraft and its flying characteristics. Past that point, I look for a person, most favorably a type person who is of a gymnastic background. I find the gymnasts are the best because they have already gone through the era of self-discipline, concentration, and the elimination of the basic human element of fear. But I find the gymnasts work best because they do have the power of concentration and the self-discipline that's definitely required in this act, because the wing walker is trained to move out of that airplane and about it while in flight and doing different various acrobatics on the wing while the airplane is actually going 85, 90 miles an hour through the air. 10,000 pounds of tensile stress, okay? Now, it's very important that I check all your nuts and bolts and you check all mine, and then we know the total rack's secured. At an air show, we're ready to go fly. But right now, let's get down and we'll start talking you through some of the wing walking tricks. Now, on the kick out for the horizontal handstand, I want you to hold on to the top, come right back down to the windshield. Remember, the wind's blowing now, just move right down to the windshield. Yeah, just, there you are, always holding tightly. What we're going to do is have you kick out and do a horizontal handstand, okay? Bring the other foot on down. There you are. Get your other hand tightly in there. Now, what I want you to do is to kick out horizontally, and I'm going to catch you. Don't worry about it, I'll catch you, okay?
I hope.
Okay, kick straight out, okay? Ready, go. There. Now, the wind's going to be helping you. This is going to be easier to do in the air than it is on the ground. If you start oscillating, sort of do a slight scissors with your legs.
This way?
No, the other way. There you are, right there. And then when the oscillation stops, now I want you to keep good form, and then here you go back down, miss the windshield, right down, okay? Now let's show you how to get into the headstand, okay? Now what you have to do is turn around 180 degrees, so just reverse your feet. Remember, the wind is blowing. There you are, the wind is blowing against you. 1 foot over there. Now come up and sit right on these. Bring your right leg up first and just wedge it right in. Remember, the wind is blowing. Now your other leg. All right, now I'm going to simulate wind for you. Okay, the wind is blowing. Now you have to let yourself all the way down. Now remember, that wind's going to reverse when you pass a horizontal. Be ready. The wind's going to blow this way, okay? Now, strike a little pose for us. Good, good form. Okay, coming back up, the same thing. The wind's pressing on the front. Pull up slowly. Now, don't let the wind slam you against the rack. Okay, there you are. Good. Now, just move all the way back down to the rack and stand up in the rack again. Wind is blowing. Try to imagine all the time the wind is blowing like that, okay? 80, 85 miles an hour is what's going to be blowing. The type thing that I do performing air shows is often referred to as stunt flying. It actually isn't at all. Stunts are things like jumping the Snake River, attempting to do something. This flying is well planned. It is practiced and polished to the science of safety. We have a tradition we go through in this. We always give a handshake before we take off for the performance. It's like, have a good show. As I bring it out every year, has had many, many hours of practice and rehearsal just as a stage production. It is, in all respects, a stage production performed in the air. And there's lots of planning, lots of research, timing, a lot of rehearsal in it. When flying the wing walking act, the total responsibility is on the pilot. I fly higher than I do in the normal act. Not that I couldn't dust the trees off, but I have a responsibility there of another life in my hands. Now we're coming in for an 8-point roll. We need 150 miles an hour. Coming down to about 50 feet, and I have 150 miles an hour, level off. Coming up on crowd center, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My engineering background has been most helpful. A lot of this, having gone into it the way I did with the absence of help from knowledgeable people in the field I'm going in, put me in the position of working on theory. And most of the things I've done has been with a lot of thought and a lot of theory. Almost all of the things that I've decided, yes, this will work, in fact have worked, because there was so much thought and planning behind it before attempting it. If I tell you I don't have a few anxieties before a performance, I would be lying to you. I do. But once I'm in the airplane, I'm in my own element, one of which I'm in total control of it, and I know this. One thing you have to remember is to never be afraid of what you're doing, because automatically that puts you behind the curve. Believe in yourself, have confidence in yourself, apply yourself. If you are frightened in any situation and afraid, there is a restriction again subconsciously that does not allow you to function to your full capability. Always have a healthy respect for what you're doing and recognize your limitations and the limitations of what you're involved with. That's where it all begins. You must believe in yourself. After I've flown a performance, I know whether I did a good performance or not. And that I have come down and I have performed well motivates me to move on forward. I have to know I'm making progress. This gives me the incentive to continue. Sometimes I have hit what is called a mental stalemate, and there's a reason behind it, so I seek out that reason and find out what it is and eliminate it and then continue to move forward. I believe anyone can do anything with their life or their profession that they want to, that there's no limitations. The only limitation a person has is within himself. The key to it all is to decide what you want to do and to study it and to be determined within yourself. And out of this, you can draw all energies you need to press forward and to move as far in whatever that direction is you want to. It's up to the individual. Determine, sit down and determine, where do I want to go with my life, my profession? Then you can sort of set a pattern you want to follow to improve your environment and your existence in life and those who surround you. And I think once you can ever look far enough into the future to say, okay, where am I going to be 10, 15 years from now, or 20, or whenever, then I think you can start formulating a pattern and a direction of where you want to go. One thing that many people say to me is, oh, that's impossible. Never take that position. The position I always take in this is nothing impossible. The impossible just takes a little bit longer. I see a most definite similarity between being successful in business and in flying, particularly the type of flying I'm doing. It's really setting out a game plan, so to speak. A lot of planning, a lot of thought input to what you're going to be doing, whether it's in the business world or in flying, a lot of professionalism, a lot of dedication, a very definite parallel. I've never gotten tired of flying. Seems like I can't get enough. In anything anyone does and excels at it, they have to enjoy it. In whatever I've done, the construction business, the flying, you have to sort of get yourself in the attitude of loving what you're doing and to have, in a sense, a romance with this. And this allows you to function to your highest level. I have a real romance with flying. About the only thing it can't replace is my wife.